Look, Singapore is the only place on earth where a stick of Marlboro is treated like contraband. You can't even chew gum without feeling like you're smuggling cocaine across customs. But Japan, oh, Japan doesn't care what you smoke, drink, or inhale. No, they have a different ban, one so subtle, so polite that most people don't even notice it. They've banned women over 40. Yes, you heard me right. Not with a law, not with a big sign at immigration, but through 1,000 socially acceptable exclusions. Over 40? Forget joining a dating app. Forget applying for that shiny office job. Forget even signing up at a marriage agency. At 39, you're still mature but cute. At 40, you're a ghost. Now, before you click away, here's the twist. Today I'm going to show you how Singapore's ban on cigarettes and Japan's ban on middle-aged women are actually the same thing. Both are designed to make life orderly, predictable, and quietly miserable. So buckle up. Because once you see the logic, you'll never look at Singapore's clean streets or Japan's polite society the same way again. By the end of this video, you'll be asking yourself, which is worse, living in a country where your vice is banned, or living in one where you are? Singaporeans love to tell you their country is clean and green. What they don't tell you is that the green part doesn't mean lush parks or eco-conscious living. It means you turning green in the face after discovering the price of cigarettes. Here's the deal. In Singapore, a single pack of smokes is basically the price of a steak dinner. If you want to light up, you better be ready to burn through your CPF savings account first. It's not just about price. Singapore has weaponized public shame. You can't smoke within walking distance of anything. Restaurants, malls, playgrounds, taxi stands, MRT stations, even bus stops. Where are you supposed to smoke? Probably on a boat, in the middle of the Singapore Strait, with a permit signed by the Prime Minister himself. The irony? They ban you from smoking in Orchard Road, but happily let Ferraris blast through Orchard Towers at 3 a.m., choking the air with exhaust fumes. Carbon monoxide. Okay, nicotine, national threat. And let's not forget, Singaporeans still drink bubble tea by the gallon. Whole nation overdosing on sugar. But hey, at least nobody's puffing a cigarette, right? Health logic, Singapore style, diabetes, acceptable. Nicotine? Treason. Here's the kicker. Singapore doesn't actually hate cigarettes. It hates freedom. You're allowed to drink overpriced alcohol. You're allowed to queue 3 hours for Hello Kitty plushies. You're allowed to bankrupt yourself with COE for a car. But a single puff of tobacco? Suddenly the government acts like you detonated a nuclear warhead in Clark Quay. So yes, Singapore banned cigarettes, not to save your lungs, but to remind you who's boss. It's not about nicotine, it's about control. And that's where the parallel begins. Singapore bans your vice. Japan bans your existence. Both are masters of polite oppression, but each in their own flavor. In Japan, a woman doesn't turn 40. She expires. And unlike Singapore's cigarette ban, this isn't written in law. It's written in silence, in job applications, in dating apps, in marriage agencies that politely stamp your file with a big invisible red "no entry" sign. Let me explain. At 39, a woman is still mature and elegant. At 40, she's suddenly obasan, a word that sounds sweet like auntie, but carries the social punch of being thrown in the recycling bin with yesterday's sushi trays. If Singapore bans smoking areas, Japan bans living space. For anyone who dares to have a birthday past 39, try getting a job. Corporate Japan has mastered the art of discrimination without ever putting it in writing. Resumes still demand your age. Imagine submitting one in Tokyo at 45. Your application doesn't even get rejected. It simply evaporates, like a puff of smoke in Singapore's non-existent smoking corner. Try finding love. Dating apps? Locked. Matchmaking agencies? Blocked. Men your age? Busy swiping right on 22-year-olds who still list Disneyland as a hobby. Japan isn't banning women from society. It's quietly ghosting them. And the scariest part? Nobody even calls it discrimination. They call it tradition. Meanwhile, the government wonders why the birth rate is collapsing. Maybe, just maybe, it's because half the female population gets treated like used printer cartridges the second they hit 40. But instead of confronting this reality, politicians hand out baby bonuses worth less than a pack of cigarettes in Singapore. So let's be clear. Singapore bans cigarettes to protect health. Japan bans women over 40 to protect harmony. Both sound noble on paper. In practice, one makes you crave nicotine, the other makes you crave justice. In Singapore, you walk down Orchard Road and see signs everywhere. No smoking, no littering, no durian. At least they're honest. Japan? Oh no. Japan doesn't put up signs. They just build invisible fences around women once the calendar flips to age 40. Let's start with the workplace. In any normal country, you get older, you get more experience, and you become more valuable. In Japan, the second you hit 40, your resume gets treated like an expired coupon. You could be fluent in 5 languages, hold 2 MBAs, and still get passed over for a 23-year-old whose only skill is smiling and pouring tea. The job ad won't say under 35 only, but HR already decided before you walked through the door. Age in Japan is like nicotine in Singapore, instantly disqualifying. Now let's talk about family life. A Japanese man in his 40s can still walk into a marriage agency and be labeled stable, reliable, desirable. A woman of the same age? Too old, too risky, too late. It's as if biology stops mattering and social stigma does all the heavy lifting. A man in midlife crisis is finding himself. A woman in midlife is invisible. And then there are the marriage agencies. They literally code it into the system. You can't even register past a certain age bracket. Imagine logging into a dating service and the site just says, error 404, your youth was not found. This isn't rejection, it's erasure. Here's the cruel irony. Japan worships harmony, politeness, and respect. But for women over 40, the only harmony they get is the sound of doors quietly closing in every direction. No job, no dating, no marriage agency. Singapore may fine you for lighting a cigarette, but Japan fines you for existing past your expiration date. In Singapore, the government doesn't just want you to live long, it wants you to live long exactly the way it prescribes. Forget freedom of choice. This is the nanny state with a gym membership. Let's start with alcohol. Ever tried buying a bottle of wine in Singapore? You'll pay enough to wonder if grapes are hand squeezed by angels in Bordeaux. Taxes pile up until your weekend drink feels like a Wall Street investment gone wrong. And if you think about sneaking a can of Tiger beer onto the MRT, congratulations. You've just committed a crime that ranks somewhere between tax fraud and terrorism. Then there's sugar. Bubble tea shops on every corner, but now the health ministry slaps warning labels like it's cigarettes 2.0. You want pearls? You want extra syrup? Prepare for the kind of guilt trip usually reserved for cheating on your taxes. Somehow, drowning yourself in sugar gets a softer penalty than inhaling nicotine, but both are treated as proof that you're unfit to manage your own body. And wait, it gets better. Talk to a Singaporean and you'll hear the rumours. What if one day the government bans being fat? Think about it. They already banned gum, taxed alcohol, priced cars like private jets, and declared open war on tobacco. Why not a BMI police at Changi Airport? Imagine being told, sorry sir, your body fat is 28%. Please proceed to the deportation lounge. This is the beauty of Singapore's health logic. It's not about protecting citizens, it's about controlling them. You can't smoke, you can't drink cheaply, you can't even chew gum, but you can pay half your salary for a car license, drown in bubble tea debt, and eat McDonald's like it's a national hobby. So, yes, Singapore bans vices, Japan bans women. Both countries just choose their enemies differently. One targets cigarettes, the other targets human beings. Japan loves to brand itself as the land of eternal beauty, kimono elegance, cherry blossoms, anime girls who never age. But step into real life, and you'll notice something darker. Women here are treated like milk cartons. Expiration date, 40. After that, no one bothers to even open the fridge, let's be clear. In a country obsessed with cuteness, kawaii, a woman over 40 is instantly stripped of her femininity badge. She can be healthy, stylish, confident, but society only sees Oba-san. Overnight, she goes from office flower to office furniture, from potential bride to potential burden. The irony? Men of the same age are celebrated for having experience and stability. Women? They're just reminded their eggs have an expiry stamp. Now, here's the hypocrisy. Japan is drowning in a population crisis. Birth rate is collapsing, the elderly outnumber the young, and every prime minister since the 1990s has promised to support women. But support doesn't mean respect. It means cheap daycare slogans, token bonuses, and photo ops with crying babies. Meanwhile, real women are excluded from jobs, dating apps, and even marriage agencies, simply for daring to exist past 39. It's like watching the government run a fire drill while simultaneously locking the emergency exits. They want more babies, but treat women like defective products. They want a larger workforce, but throw middle-aged women out of the economy. Japan is basically shooting itself in the foot, and then apologizing politely for the inconvenience. And here's the cruelest twist. Many women internalize this ban. They disappear quietly, lowering their heads, caring for aging parents, working low-paying jobs, never daring to demand visibility. Singapore might fine you for smoking in public. Japan fines you with invisibility. So tell me, what's more suffocating, being told not to smoke or being told not to exist? So let's line them up. Singapore, cigarettes. Japan, women over 40. Two bans, two flavors of control, both equally absurd. In Singapore, the government bans your vice. You can't light up in public, you can't drink cheaply, you can't even chew gum without looking over your shoulder like a fugitive. It's a health utopia that feels like prison exercise time. You live longer, yes, but only because you're too terrified to break a single rule. Japan, on the other hand, doesn't care if you smoke, drink, or eat instant ramen 3 meals a day. No, Japan goes after something more existential. You're a woman over 40? Congratulations, you've just been socially erased. Want a new job? Rejected. Want a date? Invisible. Want to join a marriage agency? Error 404. Youth not found. It's not your lungs they're banning, it's your future. Think about it. In Singapore, a cigarette is contraband. In Japan, a 45-year-old woman is. Both bans make people disappear. One makes smokers huddle in hidden corners. The other makes women retreat into the shadows of acceptable invisibility. But here's the twisted beauty. Both nations justify it the same way. Singapore says, we're protecting health. Japan says, we're protecting harmony. Translation, we're protecting ourselves from you. So what's worse? Living in Singapore, where your lungs belong to the government, or living in Japan, where your worth expires like a parking ticket the moment you turn 40? Pick your poison. One country bans your cigarette, the other bans your existence. And here's the kicker. Maybe these bans aren't opposites at all. They're cousins. Both are designed to remind you that in Asia, freedom is always conditional. Light up a cigarette in Singapore or light up a birthday candle in Japan. It doesn't matter. Someone, somewhere, is already telling you it's against the rules. So tell me, if you had to choose, which would you rather live under? Singapore's health dictatorship or Japan's age dictatorship? Drop it in the comments. And don't just watch quietly. Because silence, as both countries prove, is the fastest way to get banned.